All right, welcome to another episode of the Hip Hop Uncensored Podcast. I'm your brother, O God, from Hip Hop News Uncensored, and sitting across from me is my co-host.
What up, y'all? It's your man Sam, and CEO of Raw Hip Hop News in the building for a very special edition of the Hip Hop Uncensored Podcast. We got a special guest back in the building. I don't know if this is round 3 or 4, but whatever it is, it's always a pleasure and honor to have a beautiful Miss Vicki Dillard on the podcast. How you doing today, Miss Dillard?
I'm doing so good. I'm amazing. So pleased to be with my brothers. Thank you so much for having me, and welcome, a big welcome to your audience.
Yeah.
Pleasure is all ours. We always appreciate the wealth of knowledge and just the energy, the positive energy you always bring to the show. Always a good time when we speak to you. So let's start off. I want to talk about the album. See you out in LA in these beautiful studios doing your thing. You know what I mean? Big old soundboards and beautiful percussionists and keyboardists and all this good stuff going on. So talk about that. Let the people know what you got going on with
I'm
the
gonna
album.
get you. I didn't even know that you knew all of that. It's been out there, and I was trying to send it to folks, but I've been teasing it a little bit. I'm so excited. This is I'm a big spiritual, and I'm a very, very big spiritual, and my spiritual life has really shaped everything that I've been through, and it's actually the secret to my success in terms of we're all spiritual, but not all of us are consciously spiritual and direct our energy to cause us to live a supernatural life. Our life is natural, but it can certainly have its advantages when we can connect the unseen. We know that even our quantum physicists and scientists teach us that everything you see came from everything you can't see. I say all that to say I wanted to create a project that would really help our people based on ancient technology. In Hindu mysticism, Vedic science, and other sciences, when we hear them talk about mantras or they're making these weird, Vedic sounds, we look at it like, but we don't realize that was actually our sciences. And we believe, many of us, that in the beginning was the word, right? A lot of folks believe that, right? Even if you're not a strong Christian, but there are still biblical principles that many people espouse. So if in the beginning was the word, and if scientists say that when they get down to the very particle of matter, it sounds like a sound, I decided to make a meditative project using these ancient sounds so that basically it'll reprogram us. And so I connected with one of my dear brothers, Terrain Hicks, who is a master Black occultist who has mastered this own sound that many other groups use, and decided to use my particular unique talents and connect it with his. And so we're taking the ancient sounds of old and giving it to the people so that they can incorporate in their daily lives, so they can experience some breakthrough. This is actually the technology that folks have used for so-called mental health issues, financial issues, even healing and all those different types of things, even manifesting resources and opportunities in their lives. This is one of the sacred secrets that they use because it's actually the stuff of creation. So that's what this album is about. It's a meditation album, very different.
Nice.
Yeah, powerful. Let's go back. I'm gonna cover a couple topics that I actually saw you cover. So
okay.
First, the Johnathan Majors. It kind of died down, but it's still a relevant topic. What's your thoughts on that whole situation with Johnathan Majors? Do you feel like, there's some truth to it, or do you feel like they're trying to destroy this brother, before he's even been through the whole adjudication process?
Well, I think that in terms of Johnathan Majors, I gave him a little work when I did that effeminate cover on, was it Essence? I think it was Essence. Essence magazine. And no disrespect to Essence, but in my opinion, they've been doing some kind of just strange covers, on Essence lately. And so the powers that shouldn't be were really pushing and promoting that look. And I felt like they were using him really, for that agenda. And he was pushing this whole notion of masculinity being, fluid and just really helping to blur the lines. And here he is, one of the top stars at this particular time, just so high. I don't think it's by accident that he's in this predicament right now. I think it's a pattern that we have to wake up and smell the begonias. Whether or not some of that stuff is true or not,
Right.
I would rather not even say.
Right.
Except for to say this, we're supposed to have the presumption of innocence, right?
Absolutely.
We're supposed to allow the facts to come out, and we see that that is not something that's happening for him. In fact, the opposite of what we see with so many of these other white boys that are out there that have assaulted their wives on camera, that have said all manner of evil and anti-Black stuff, and none of them are getting this work. None of their careers are destroyed. We see that mainstream media, I'm talking about including the so-called left, don't they find a way to defend their own? They find a way to twist it and turn it. And even your CNN and MSNBCs of the world don't go in very hard on them. They talk about what a wonderful father they are. They talk about some of them have mental illnesses, and they talk about certain parts are missing. And they are doing that now because even if they are left-wing, they know that because these incidents keep happening with them, we're going to start scratching our heads and say, what's wrong with them? And they know that they are the them. You understand? So even your left Democratic wing of media, they're still in on it. They don't cover it the way so your Fox News just blatantly puts it out there, but they still cover for them. So I think that because Johnathan Majors serves as a proxy, just as any other prominent Black person that's aligned and defamed and attacked and targeted in the media serves as a proxy for Black folks as a whole, we've got to learn we're at war. And when you're at war, you're supposed to use circumstances and situations to your strategic advantage. Do you understand what I'm talking about? The same way I felt that Ye. I mean, I was shut up. You don't have to defend Ye, but just hush. Don't get in the way. That's all I'm saying.
Right. Absolutely. Like my cousin alluded to, we like to, when we have a guest on, we definitely like to do some research, and you have a page that you definitely articulate a lot of your feelings on, and we definitely appreciate it. So another topic that you brought up was, who was the brother I'm thinking about right now? Let me think. It was Jim Clyburn. You called out. You called out particular Black media and asking why aren't they covering certain things about James Clyburn. Please tell the audience about the issues currently going on with James Clyburn and how he's manipulating a lot of people, in particular our people, into doing some very disgusting things behind the scenes in politics.
Oh my gosh, y'all are the best. You really are the best. Y'all know all the buttons to hit for me. Let me tell you. Let's remember that James Clyburn was a kingmaker for Joe Biden. Remember when Joe Biden's presidential campaign was lagging, he used his down south political prowess and access to revive his campaign, okay? Remember when he came out for him? So he didn't just cause many of the South Carolinians to vote. Remember, it had an impact on the surrounding southern areas that gave Joe Biden momentum and traction, yes? And they label him as a kingmaker. Sometime after that, he went on national news and they asked him, were you expecting something? Since you put your reputation on the line to assist Joe Biden and you're really credited as reviving his presidential campaign and causing him to win? He said, want something? Want something? No, I don't want nothing. Why am I bringing that up? This is the same man that before that demonstratively said we ain't getting reparations, and he ain't pushing reparations. I don't want y'all to forget that. There was no gray line. He was very forceful and held to the no. Y'all ain't getting no reparations, and we're not pushing reparations, and you're out of your mind, and it's unthinkable, it's undoable, and we're not even going to bring it up. Don't forget that, right?
Right.
So I started to use this ridiculous slave mind mentality that Black folks have no right to expect to get anything. So you ask Black folks, well, you know, what about reparations? You know, what about you all putting people into office, making sure that you all get substantive legislation and, you know, economic legislation and good, you know, blah, 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 right? That's how Negroes are. Want something? What I look like wanting something? So-and-so accused me of wanting something. This is a slave mentality and dangerous. And this is the reason why we are seeing legal and illegal immigrants get resources.
Yep.
This is the reason we're seeing white Ukrainians get resources. White Afghans get resources. The LGBTQ community get priority and political protections and all kinds of benefits. And of course, Karen and Karen and Kevin and them still getting all of the loopholes and the benefits politically. And then we wake up and finally smell the begonias and saying, how is it after all this time we're not where we ought to be and everybody is passing us up? Because we are refusing to demand that they do something substantive. So Jim Clyburn, ProPublica just put out a piece that shows that his aide put it, I believe it was the text message excerpt I read to my audience, uncovered that, all the black folks, I want y'all to keep that history I just gave you in mind with Clyburn, okay? So I said all that to say, so recently, remember when Clyburn, he was up for election, he was making it look like, because everybody was calling him the kingmaker, right? They was calling him, you've been in office for all of those, all these decades, and your reelection is certainly a shoo-in. It was not. A lot of folks didn't know that a lot of the South Carolinians in his areas fled. A lot of black folks left the area. So he was concerned that his seat was vulnerable. Guess what he did? You hear Joyless Reed. You hear formerly Don Lemonade. Somebody say formerly. You saw all of them Negroes out there, right? They were sitting up there decrying the fact that these Republicans are gerrymandering black neighborhoods. They're silencing our voices. They're diminishing our votes by gerrymandering, right? Which means they know that there are certain black enclaves that have a lot of power. So because they know that their numbers are dwindling and they don't have that much authority, they just remake the maps. They remake the maps to give them jurisdiction, basically, right? Political jurisdiction in those areas. So this has been something we're saying that the Republicans are cheating. They're remaking the maps. James Clyburn was quiet, specifically in South Carolina, when some of that was going on, when his fellow white Republican congresspersons were being called out for doing it. Guess what we found out? His aide, text messages I read, and other information that came forth, ended up working with the Republicans, and they gave assistance to the Republicans because it benefited James Clyburn at the expense of other congressional persons getting the seat or getting elected in the future. And nobody is talking about it. You heard all these Democrats screaming and hollering, right, about how anti-black the Republicans are, right? But they are not saying anything about James Clyburn and this gerrymandering scandal that he helped to silence the voices of his own people. That's what I've been talking about lately.
Why do you think some of the mainstream media, black media in particular, hip hop media, you named a few, won't cover it?
Well, they're not going to cover it because they're committed to the Joe Bidens of the world ruling over us. They're committed to keeping the same failing system in place. These are not people that want true black upward mobility and progression. These are people that denigrate us and dog us for wanting reparations. These are people that refuse to allow alternative voices and these types of things to rise because they believe that it's a threat to the Jim Crow Joe Bidens. These, and mainly and mostly, it's because they're committed to their own biscuits, beloved. They're committed to securing, like Jim Crow, James Clyburn, their seats. For example, Joy Reid, allegedly, I got to be responsible media, especially on y'all's multiple platforms. I got to be real responsible. Okay, this is Vicki talking. This is Vicki talking. Allegedly. Joy Reid, her slot on MSNBC was in danger. She was supposed to allegedly have already lost that spot some months ago, right? That some of that news was leaking and came out, and she managed to still keep it, even though they were switching out people in her place. And allegedly. 1 second, family, I'm gonna have to mute this. There's an announcement.
All right, no problem.
In the building with Miss Vicki Dillard on the Hip Hop Uncensored Podcast. For the people listening right now, go ahead and hit that 5-star rating. Make sure you like the video, comment, we're in the building, man. Much love to Miss Vicki Dillard.
Yes, definitely.
Thank
So
you all
hopefully-
so much for that.
No problem.
That break. So, fam, the everybody, as we always say, everybody that's skin folk, everybody that's kinfolk everybody ain't what? Skin folk. What is
Ain't kinfolk.
Ain't kinfolk.
Right.
Vice versa, whichever way it is. The point is, I call them black looking people. So that's the difference when we say, why is it mainstream media isn't covering them? Because they want to make sure that those individuals stay in place. I was talking about Joy Reid a minute ago and the danger that her position was in on MSNBC. And I was told from an insider, allegedly, that she was dealing with the White House. So in the event that she lost her place, that she would have a secure position inside of the White House. So when you see Joy Reid pushing Hillary Clinton, pushing the Biden agenda, pushing all of that stuff, they're trying to secure their own individual seats. But for those of us that have a collectivism mindset, you see, we don't see our individual success as success if the masses of our people, right, aren't in a position to where they're able to do well. Yes, we want to make sure we're secure. Of course, we have to do that first. But we have a heart for our brothers and sisters around us. So that's the main reason that they refuse to cover it, because they know it puts them in danger. Don't forget, it's the Joy Reids, it's the black looking mainstream media entities that were attacking social media, folks, right? This is where this is the platforms we use. This is to shut us down. What are they finding out? We found out that some of the statisticians have come out now and said that the majority of folks nowadays trust alternative media more than they do what? Mainstream cable news. They're losing their position. It's personal, it's individual. That's the reason why it's a problem. And that's the reason why they're committed to supporting people that's not going to upset the system, whereby their biscuits, as I say, their bones and biscuits are replaced. So when we say bones and biscuits, I'll say this quickly. People think it's funny, but it is funny and it's disturbing, but it's also history. Our history shows that our open enemy literally used chicken and biscuits and other food as an incentive when a black person sold another black person out, or they did something to preserve the white man or the white woman's position. Do you understand? So this was literally part of the incentives or awards that we got for doing something good was food. So when we call them a bone and biscuit, we're basically saying that that's the mentality they're in. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you for that.
Right. So back in February, I seen one of your videos. I didn't get a chance to watch it. But the title was Dr. Umar does not believe blacks are ready for reparations. Did he actually say that? And what's your thoughts on that? I didn't hear him say that, but if he did, what's your thoughts on that?
My issue actually regarding Dr. Umar,
right,
was he did a podcast. And first of all, I believe in some of his work. I want to be clear about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had the privilege of having a couple of interviews with him. One of them kind of went awry at the end, but he, Lord have mercy, just Lord. But I have to say he did kind of sort of indirectly tried to reconcile that through a video and brought up my name in it, saying, so I felt like that he was making a conciliatory effort to clear that up. So I want to say that, okay? With that being said, he did a podcast where they were talking about reparations, and he was basically saying that we're so sick, and then in terms of mentally sick, to really know what to do with reparations. He was also talking about my understanding, the devaluating of the amounts that we would get of the US dollar or something to that effect, if I remember correctly. And then I felt that people were making all of these stipulations and disclaimers and hoops that Black folks have to jump through in order to get it. That was the issue that I had. And I felt that his talking points are very dangerous, because I felt that the other side would use that argument, and someone as high profile as he, to argue against us getting reparations. And that's exactly what we saw Dr. Phil use recently, didn't we?
Yeah. Yep. You're right.
That was my issue, was to allow someone with such a big megaphone to sit there. And this goes to the slave mentality. What's the slave mentality? That Black folks got to work real hard for anything we get. We already created America. We got to do this. We got to do that. We ain't ready for this yet. And if we give black folks, that's what he was basically saying, the reparations down, we're going to turn around and put it right back into the white communities. Let me tell you something. And this was my issue. There are no stipulations for a debt that you owe. I said no stipulations. Can you imagine, because this is a legal issue, going into court, you win a judgment, and somebody wants to know that when you were in 9th grade, did you ever smoke a blunt? They want to know, have you ever ran a red light or had a traffic thing? They want to know, has your account ever been overdrawn before they decide to give you? If we got approximately $365,000 each, and that's one of the numbers I heard, and I decided to go to the dollar store and get me 365,000 pairs of flip-flops.
That's on you.
Me what I do. Of course, I advocate that we come together so that we can be collective, like Dr. Clark teaches us, so that we can maximize our economic position.
Yeah.
But don't get that twisted with the debt that's owed and you telling other black folks what they have to do with their money and providing all of these barriers as to why they can continue to delay us getting it. I said there are no stipulations for a debt owed. That is the issue that I had with what he said.
I agree.
Fire.
Yeah.
Brought up legendary scholar Dr. Claude Anderson. And right now I want to transition into Howard University. Howard University, world-renowned HBCU. I got recruited there to go to play football there some time ago. Didn't work out, but love the university out in Georgia Avenue, Washington, D.C.
Wow.
They had President Joe Biden as a keynote speaker recently, and a lot of people took issue with that because you got Dr. Claude Anderson, a man that could help exponentially some of them students, and not only the students at the university, and happens to live right around the corner, from what I hear. Talk about your issue with Howard University having President Joe Biden as opposed to turning their head on somebody like a Dr. Claude Anderson.
The issue I have, and someone commented this, and I know there are other similar sentiments, so that's the only reason I'm addressing this particular issue as to, well, they needed to be smart about raising money, so it was smart business-wise for them to bring Joe Biden in. I told this slowness of it all individual who said that it's not just about quote-unquote business and them bringing him in, right? It was about the fact that before you decided to bring him in to speak to our generation, a well-known, bona fide, certified, the mastermind behind the most recent and the most recent piece of legislation that had everything to do with the undoing of black folks, the true new Jim Crow, the architect of that. You brought him in to speak into the lives of our new leaders of the new world. And watch this. For the longest time, I had the privilege of doing a couple of interviews with Dr. Claude Anderson's family over the past several months. We were supposed to do a third one. We had to wait because having a little bit of a health issue, so that last one was delayed. He specifically talked about how these institutions, and particularly he called them out white folks, was not allowing his books and his information into the schools, right? That's the problem that I had. And then, as Dr. Boyce, I gotta say this, mentioned in one of his tweets, he's within proximity to Howard University, and they don't even bring him in. So it's not just that they had, you understand, Joe Biden there. It's the fact that you gave our leaders the middle finger and refused to allow their voices, their presence, their surrogates, and their books. You understand what I'm talking about? Inside of these institutions. It is a shame. That is disgusting. And then I talked about this in a pre-record, so I'm on another platform on African Diaspora News Channel. Shout out to my brother Bill Scott. I hope that's okay that I shouted him out. Ma'am. He's been good to me over the years. That'll be up soon. I brought this up on one of my broadcasts coming out with him. Y'all know they gave him an honorary doctorate degree, and the president of Howard said, and I'm quoting, in part, one of the reasons they gave it to him was for his analytical intellect. God, Lord. Wow. They talked about his popularity with both sides. These are things that your Black university leaders said when they granted this man an honorary doctorate degree too, adding further insult to injury to us. This is disgusting. This is slave thinking, slave behavior. And I don't know if you all have read any of the 5 books of Dr. Clark, but one of the things he brings up in his books, there's a section that's called inappropriate behavior.
Mm-hmm.
You see how we normalize these kinds of things?
Yeah.
We normalize rewarding our open enemy, just like, and I'm going to say this and I'll stop. Remember when Obama was in office?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Obama gave George Bush one of the highest civilian awards. Remember, he gave his own vice president, who was what? Jim Crow Joe Biden, one of the awards. And then he and Michelle was shucking and jiving with George Bush too, who's responsible for untold hundreds of thousands of innocent lives being murdered and killed here in America and around the world. They normalize that relationship. And the reason why some people are going to be mad at me that I give Michelle Obama this everlasting word. And I was off, I love how she looked. I was excited to see this dark melanin woman. I was inspired by her muscles. That's why I said, girl, let me get me some abs. I mean, some guns. I was so happy, but I knew from the beginning it was going to be a disaster. I was going to use her husband as a white supremacist. But I'm saying optically, it was exciting. When Michelle Obama and them, and when Obama and Michelle, I use them interchangeably, got in the office, they were willing to give the man who married them, the man who baptized their children, the middle finger. They were willing to disassociate themselves and denounce Minister Farrakhan for a position of power. Watch this. And then they refused to have any dealings with him while they were in the White House. And based on some of his reports, he was privately sending them letters of reconciliation just undercover secretly, and they were still refusing to give him any substantive response. Watch this. When they left the White House, Michelle Obama did her first book, Becoming. She broke all kind of global records. Watch this. But guess what she did in that book that pissed me off?
Mm.
She basically said that Dr. Jeremiah Wright was a cranky old black man that had a problem with white supremacy, while she's going around the country high-fiving and bragging about George W. Bush.
Wow.
You understand, y'all? I gotta calm down. I ain't on the Vicki show. Y'all gotta calm me down. I can't.
Well, do your work.
About to get the gavel. Do you understand why that ticks? We have normalized her and said this is our forever first lady. How y'all okay with that? That she talks about publicly, pull it up. The things that she has in common with George W. Bush's family, the interviews that he gives her daughter, their daughter, that's on, I forget that morning, one of the major networks. She's got her little gig that she does on one of the major morning shows and stuff. The wonderful relationship that she has with him. But even after she left the White House, I keep emphasizing after because folks love to justify why they did it. Well, they had to do it for political reasons. They had to do this. Okay, after she left, why did she do that? So that white women would buy her books. My dog, and they had to have something juicy, you understand, in there that had some racial incendiary statements in order to draw in a whole bunch of her white Karens to buy her book, and it worked. So this is what disgusts me about individuals that do stuff like that and normalize these types of relationships. So I know I kind of went off on that, but anyway.
Nah, we appreciate you. Fire.
Yeah, definitely. Great interview so far. What do you see the next? We talked about Biden and all these different people. We didn't talk about Trump. What do you see in the next play ban for the next election? You think Biden's going to win? Do you think they're going to pull somebody up, that we don't know about to try to, once again, trick us again? What's your thoughts on the next election?
My thoughts on the next election is, what are we going to do to continue to upset the system? Remember, they were so concerned that Biden was going to lose. That was one of the major driving forces of them bringing Kamala to trick us with her ethnicity. She go in and out on, being from India and whatever. So that was a trick, right? And remember, all the black voices was telling Joe Biden, if y'all don't get her, the world gonna end. You're gonna lose all your black supporters. Remember, all the sorority folks came out and they did all that, right? She's done absolutely nothing. She laughs at everything and she's being laughed at, right? That's her destiny. That's all she's accomplished in office, right? And this was a whole setup. Then they did all these different things to prop him up. I'm trying to remember. It was the reason why I brought her up in particular for this particular thing. Mm-hmm. Oh, We were right about that. We were saying that this was going to be a disaster. That's exactly what they're saying, because her numbers are one of the lowest numbers as vice president. We, the independent Black media, right? We told them there was going to be a problem. We told y'all she was going to be a problem. Her numbers are low, so they're concerned about that. They was wondering if he's going to throw her off the ticket when he runs again. So they're trying to fix everything. That's why they sent her funny looking self over to Africa recently. She made a total fool of herself. And practically every one of the 54 nations on the continent down for coming over there with an LGBTQ agenda, hollering about China, what China's doing. China is offering to be a rose, and whether we agree with what they're doing or not, and do economic work with them. We sit up there talking about LGBTQ and tell them we're going to sanction them because their laws are too tough against that community, allegedly. So they did all this stuff, right? Then they tried to make a distinction and tell us why Joe Biden was so much better than Trump. He's not as bad of a white supremacist, right? It's Trump. I feel that we caused so much drama, we scared them so much because of our underground work that we're doing as a Black grassroots, that they pulled out all the stops to try to appease it. Look what they're doing. Remember, what was the main thing that the headlines were saying? They told those that told the truth, like NPR and a few others, why Joe Biden went to Howard in the first place. For voting pitch, remember? That was what that was for. What's happening? They're showing already now the waning numbers, the waning enthusiasm amongst Black voters, right? They're starting now. I believe it doesn't matter for us, because they try to make us think that it mattered whether or not Trump was going to be in office and our destiny, right? We it's going to be over for us. It doesn't matter for us. Whichever way, I think our focus needs to be an all or nothing strategy. Reparations are nothing at all. And we need to continue to do exactly what we've been doing. The broadcast we've been doing like this, the engagement that we're seeing with Black folks that are engaging their city council persons that's showing up to real-time things. I did a broadcast a little bit ago today. Chicago residents actually sued the city for the illegal migrants that they're bringing. Black folks are going legal. We're being unwavering. I think that's the focus that we need to stick to. Hold the line. I think that's my brother, you said that you were an athlete. So help me with this. Is that an athletic term, holding the line in some form or fashion? I think that's the job that we need to do, is hold the line on our demand. It's either you give us substantive economic reparations specifically for us, or nothing. That it doesn't matter. Our focus shouldn't be on the outcome, because we see them both as white supremacists. That's the reason why I keep saying this. We keep trying to make a distinction. There is none. All we need to keep focusing on is what we're doing now to upset the system. I brought up Common and all this other kind of stuff because they were doing this stuff to appease us. They're already going to Howard, had Joe Biden do that thing, doing all this stuff. They're talking about, I don't know if y'all seen the ads they done put out on that Ketanji Jackson Black lady they put on the Supreme Court. We did what we said. That's what Joe Biden put now. We put her up there. We did that's nothing. Yeah. So I think we need to continue to do that. I don't think we need to focus on who's going to win, who's not, because that does not change us in what we're doing in terms of our Black collectivism, our Black entrepreneurial goals together, and our common voice to demand, whether you call it reparations or not, but a specific economic plan for Black people. I think it should be, that's our focus, nothing else.
You know, over the last 8 years, or excuse me, the last 2 elections, I'd say the last 8 years, reparation in our community has been loud, very loud, getting even louder, louder when it comes to these political conversations. And it seems right around that time, Black political pundits and mainstream media dive down and attack independent mainstream media. Allegedly, I'm not from what it looks like. From what it looks like, they start naming them by name. They start going out of their way to discredit any information they have. All in the pursuit of trying to destroy this reparations conversation from what it appears in the mainstream media. Why do you think that? I mean, why do you think that is?
Again, and it really is this simple. Django, it's just Stephen. It's Stephen. You have Black looking people. We are at war. And our open enemies are so wise to have spies or people that look like us to benefit their side. That's what these false prophet reporters and anchors are. It really is as simple as that. It has been prophesied the fall of America. But what I want to say, which is why we're seeing BRICS and these other countries coming together to basically do this de-dollarization. And of course, they're doing this because America is responsible for untold numbers of, coups around the globe. Every time somebody does something we don't like in many of our African countries, they impose economic sanctions because of an LGBTQ law that they've passed in that particular country. It is a way that we first engage war economically, right? We're seeing all of these different things happening as it relates to America. And let me get back to your question, because I was trying to connect this to your original question. Why do I think that these voices are doing this? Let me say this before I go further.
Yeah, sure.
Not just even allegedly. Tiffany Cross, everybody look it up, before they hired her from her weekend job at MSNBC. What did she do? The last few times on her broadcast, she started bringing on Roland Martin. Roland came out just attacking us. The last broadcast or two, he slacked up. So she decided, I'm going to take the reins and do it. You just come on, and I'm going to make you look like the bad guy, because we've been tearing Roland up and making him look like the nut that he is, and everything is just going to hell in a handbasket for him in terms of his reputation. So she had to look like the bad guy. What did she say on MSNBC? She told her audience, don't listen. Specifically, she said Tariq Nasheed and Kevin Samuel's followers and so forth. Now, she intentionally, in my opinion, and allegedly invoked the name Kevin Samuels, though he's passed, because she knows that he still has a vibrant following. So she was trying to instigate that for ratings, right? That's my opinion, allegedly. But there's no alleged nothing, because she specifically said our names, like Tariq's name. Don't listen. Think about that. Don't listen. Roland specifically said, don't listen to Vicki Dillard. Don't listen to Phil Scott. And he listed a host of others. Yes. Literally said this. So you are right, my brother, when you say that when they start attacking social media. And this is the reason why I told my audience so many times, every time somebody talks about censoring social media, be careful how you jump on the bandwagon, because they pretend like it's one issue. Because remember, they was calling us Russian bots.
Yeah.
Remember that? When this conversation was coming out and they were saying this, and that's because they were looking at the ratings. They were looking at the statistics and the demographics and all this kind of stuff. And they saw we were growing in power, and folks are listening to us more than them. That threatens their position, that threatens their individual biscuits. That's why this is happening. And so we don't have a middleman, right? We don't have a filter, and nobody is pulling our strings like they're pulling theirs. So this is the reason why we're going to see them. They're tools for our open enemies, plain and simple. These are lookalikes. They're fakes. They're for the other side. If y'all seen the movie Salt with Angelina Jolie, that's one of the action-packed movies that I can stand to watch. Since she was a child, they groomed them in the movie, right? To be spies to infiltrate the United States. And it was decades later, right? They did all of this training. They had infiltrated the White House. Some of them was in the CIA, but they were still actually spies in the movie for Russia. I believe it was Russia. It's the same with Black-looking people. They may look like us, but that does not mean they're of us. So that's why it's so important. So I don't think we should say why Black-looking people, why are they refusing to push it, because they're not us. They're black-faced white supremacists. That's why.
Let's talk about, if you can, Jamie Foxx. That's something else you talked about. He is getting well now, but how do you feel about the conflicting reports early on? What do you think the root of that is? A lot of the conflicting reports, people saying that he, was on his deathbed, they were preparing for the worst, and then like a couple of days later, we find out that he's already out of the hospital. What's your thoughts on that?
Yes, I did see that he was out of the hospital, and then also I've been seeing some folks talk about how he was in rehab.
Yeah,
right.
And then I saw even more recently. Did y'all see where he went out recently? They had the footage of him out. I don't know if it was a club or whatever, but anyway, the cameras everywhere. Yes, that was out. Not too long. Yes, that was just recently where he was, showing his presence. And so that's, I've noticed that on a few platforms, that video footage.
Okay.
I'm going to say this. I believe there are multiple reasons and multiple entities that utilize that narrative. I just want us to be careful when the Black family comes on. Now, look, we're in media, right? We know what it means to do a headline so that we can draw in our audience and this type of thing. I'm not saying that. You understand?
Right. Absolutely.
Right.
I'm talking about our content. I'm not talking about the what is it, the bait necessarily.
Right.
It matters once we have caught the bait, how we guide and direct. You understand what I'm saying? Once the bait, because we know that what attention is currency now, right? Yes, attention is currency. So once we have the attention, how responsible are we with our commentary and content? I believe there are multiple things that are behind that narrative that was pushed. I did see this brother, I forget his name, who did a piece and broke down who owned one of the hip hop platforms that has millions of viewers, and it's nothing but white boys. Did y'all see that?
I seen that. Yeah.
Oh my God. When he broke down who was responsible for putting out, and when he went to the pages, it wasn't nothing but Black hip hop artists. But when he showed who owned it and the white boys that put up all the content who's behind it, it make you say, it goes back to the fact that we make the world go round.
Yep, for
It's
sure.
our Black magic from golf to science, right? To hip hop. You know, it does not matter. Black folks are the one that give things life and animation, which is why the white boys were behind the scenes doing what? Controlling it the same way we know how they do in other forms of music and other areas, right?
Yeah.
That's something I believe to consider. But let me tell you some of this, and this, your audience, I'm a spiritual. This is a way for folks to manipulate the unseen too. I'm just saying. The same with Ye. Whether you believe it or not, whether you understand it or not, whether you know it or not. Some folks, Black folks, love to talk about the Illuminati and the powers, you know, this group of individuals. There's a reality, even though how we've known the Illuminati and the families back in the day to be has changed somewhat. But there are individuals that have outsized influence, yes, on the world and the globe. Military, economics, science, and every other area of people activity. I believe it has something to do with that also in terms of pushing that, because when we give attention to certain narratives, there's an energy. And some of my family, this is why I teach my spiritual schools offline too, because some of us don't understand that everything you see came from everything you can't see. So when you involve yourself in certain narratives by putting out there, he's on his deathbed, do you know that you can help create
that's deep.
a reality that's not even quite there? You understand?
Yeah.
And because we don't know who we are, and we haven't even paid attention, and let's just talk about traditional Christianity. I'm gonna say this quickly and I'm gonna stop.
Yes.
The Christian rituals, when they would do many of the lynchings, a lot of the lynchings, not all of them, of course. Do you know many of the lynchings were done on what? A Sunday, the Lord's Day.
Wow.
By clergy.
Wow. Dang.
You go through the ritual. The barbecuing is not, we know the barbecue as a type of sauce now, right? That's not what it originally meant. It was a type of slow burning.
Wow.
You see? They felt that they were going through a Moses-like ritual on the altar and the burning. What do white folks used to do? Literally, you don't need to be metaphysical, spiritual, occult. Forget that. You think Vicki is a nut? Fine. Do we know historically that they ate some of our body parts? Do we know that for sure? Yes. Do we know that at the end of these lynchings, they literally fought for body parts, dismembered us? Yes. They felt that there was magic inside of the melanin, which is why they ingested it. Do you understand?
Absolutely.
So we don't understand this. Finally, we know about the movie Hidden Figures, right? Where we hear about some of our Black sisters that actually were the masterminds behind NASA and the space program and all that, right? That's normal. But the movie, with all of its problems, that just the fact that they were there, you understand what I'm saying? And they were really the driving force behind a lot of NASA's success is interesting. But you got to ask yourself this question. How is it that during Jim Crow, when we couldn't pee in the same toilets, eat the same restaurants, and we were being lynched, that they had Black melanin going out of space?
Ooh.
What did they know back then?
Right.
We couldn't use the same toilet and they had melanin used as technology. Do you know that they coat the spacecrafts with melanin?
Wow.
What goes out? I'm just Henrietta Lacks. Look her up. Who is Henrietta Lacks?
I was just looking at that too.
What do they call this black woman?
Yeah.
Who had some kind of cancer. Didn't tell the family they stole her cells. The cells are still alive after all those decades during the thick of Jim Crow. Yes, family?
Yep.
Science kept it quiet, and they had her stuff out of space in America. They were having all kind of what? Scientific and medical breakthroughs using this woman's. Ask yourself, why is it that you didn't know that? Yes.
Yeah.
There's something that they know about us magically that we don't know about ourselves. And I'm simply saying that there are some principles. By me going all over the place, I was trying to give you quote unquote facts to make the skeptical mind, you understand what I'm saying? At least go down this particular road with me to understand that even in the Jamie Foxx and us joining in on that. And that's another reason why I was telling us, let's slow down on this dog. Yay. Because some of us don't understand that some of his biggest detractors, they're occult and esoteric practices that they do. So some of the stuff that we are engaged in when we are moving in a certain type of energy, we're cooperating with something that they're manipulating behind the scenes. And you think you're doing good by quote unquote correcting your brother, not understanding that you're actually playing into the hand of the other side by putting your what energy or your life force on a topic that helps them manifest a certain agenda. That's all I'm saying.
Deep. That's actually all I got. That's actually all I got right now. Oh, no, real quick.
Yeah, do you think?
I'm gonna ask you about this real quick because we kind of talked about this before, but we saying that is more of these females and even hip hop. Let's talk about female hip hop since you're a female. You got the Ice Spice effect right now. You got these different artists that are, coming out. We had a conversation on here and we talked about, where would Ice Spice be where she was if she was dark skinned right now. What's your thoughts on that? If you even know Ice Spice, I'm not sure if you even know who she is.
I'm not familiar with her music. I did see, honestly, some stuff online that people were talking about skin color and this type of things. And we know that there is an advantage that our lighter brothers and sisters have in really many areas, and that's I think that's just absolutely undeniable. I think that the issue, even though you didn't maybe bring up this part, what I would like to say about the female artists that are rising up now.
Right.
I've got a book that's coming out this year called The Dark Goddess Invasion.
Wow. Okay.
And it's a book I've been working on for a long time, and I actually had a Black publishing company help me because due to my health and all this kind of stuff, it was delayed. So they actually helped me finally manifest this dream of mine that I've had for so long.
Nice.
And I'm bringing up this notion of the divine feminine, this energy, this essence that's rising up right now to bring balance into the earth. And somebody said, well, what you talking about hip hop and this, because I think people like, Suki with the good coochie. What in the hell? And no disrespect to the sister, but my thing with Suki with the good coochie is not even just her, it's her manager. It's the people that's running her. You understand what I'm talking about? It's the individuals that put her out there, but there's something that wants to be. And it's emerging and it's messing with the tectonic plates, the underbelly of society that wants to come up. So we're seeing this Kevin Samuels, the opposite side, Black woman, can't stand Black men type energy, where we are seeing these what we consider to be gender wars, right? That's happening in Black society. There has to be an emergence of the divine feminine that breaks through. And I think that even in scandalous ways, it's coming to be even through hip hop. And it's going to balance itself out in the same way a volcano does.
Interesting.
In the same way a tsunami does. What do I mean? When you research the volcano is not just some violent thing. And especially when people tell you to be a woman, the earth is considered to be feminine, but guess what? Mother Earth has volcanoes, tsunamis, tornadoes, and hurricanes, doesn't she?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it actually brings balance to the earth. You understand? And particularly with the volcano, when I was doing research on it, I found out that there is an essence that's released when the volcano erupts that goes into the atmosphere, and it cleanses the atmosphere for multiple years.
Wow.
The shaking of the volcano also brings some of the minerals and resources that were underground to the surface. There are so many benefits that take place. When you look at the sands of the Sahara Desert, I found out that the sands from the Sahara Desert makes its way all the way across much of the world into some of the most fertile areas because there are nutrients that those sands provide to forest-like areas. Isn't that something?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm saying that there are scandalous ways in which certain things are kind of happening because it's trying to find a means to just like when we see a flower coming up in between the cracks of the concrete or a sidewalk. It's fascinating. Like, how did this get here, right?
Right.
Right.
Which just seems like it's out of place. I'm saying that that's something that wants to happen. It's important that the divine feminine essence, that there is a greater respect, and I'm talking about for the true divine feminine, particularly the divine feminine Black woman, that must emerge in order to bring out balance. There's no disrespect to our brothers. Can't nobody say that ain't nobody pro-male than Vicki Dillard.
Right.
Let's just be clear. But in every space of universe, there is a divine counterpart. There's a male and a female energy and essence to it. And because that's out of whack on the planet, we see that reflected in our government, politics, economics, and as it relates to justice. And so no matter what it takes and how scandalous it looks, the divine feminine is going to make her way to the surface. And I think that a lot of this has everything to do with that.
Powerful.
The beautiful Queen, Miss Vicki Dillard on the Hip Hop Uncensored podcast. Definitely appreciate you. Like I said, I don't know if this is the third or fourth time we had you on, but it always feels like the first.
I think it's the third time, I believe.
It's at least three.
At least three. Yes. May I say one more thing? I don't know if you want to use this or not, but I just wanted to say this one quick thing.
Go ahead.
The floor is yours.
As it relates to our brother, John Morant.
Okay.
Please do.
I believe in accountability for our people. I believe that we have to be responsible for making sure that we're doing everything that we can so that our people preserve their legacy and that they're not used and trapped to devastate and to end their own lives and legacy, right? Empowered. I think that's important.
Right.
And too often, we don't have enough mentor, mother, father type elder energy that's willing to be there for our youth. Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
But it disturbed me to see Black folks being the main voices calling for him to be punished and suspended, quote unquote, for at least a year. It disturbed me even more to see former athletes, I won't be specific, who came out and called him a boy and a dumb N-word.
Yeah.
Our brother is suspended now. The very people that claimed that you were concerned about making sure he didn't lose his bag, the way in which we corrected him was very dangerous and detrimental. I would have preferred, and Shade Room picked up a lot of this drama with the correction and the criticism of our brother. I would have preferred if we would have used our very big, large megaphones to say, hey, I love our brother Ja. I don't want him to misuse his resources. I don't want the powers that be, to lead him astray. Hey, I'm calling for all of us to get together and see about us meeting with our brother to have a talk. I would have rather folks to use their microphones like that. You understand what I'm saying? To say, hey, we want to be there for you. We want to help to bring correction where we can, brother. I think that would have been a better use of our platforms than to call him a dumb N-word and boy, and specifically calling for him to be punished and suspended for at least a year. Some Black folks were saying. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be corrected. You can't tell Vicki Dillard that when I'm giving us that everlasting work. The way in which we do things matters, and it can play into the hands of our open enemy. So while we can agree, and some of y'all, I'm gonna just be clear, it's some of you folks that were parents that were projecting their own fears for their children. when they were pushing for, yeah, he needed this and he needed that. I'm sick of him. What you mean sick of him? He messed up his bag. Well, when you criticize someone, let me see your tax returns first. If I'm to believe that you're more concerned about somebody else's bag more than they are. He may not have had the consciousness, but our brother is still in his 20s. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm saying there's a way that we could have corrected that didn't call for us saying, suspend him and calling him a dumb end and a boy. The very people that was calling him a boy and an end, they would have had a fit if somebody said that to them. Am I right? I know I am.
Yeah.
So that's all I want to say.
Very powerful, very poignant. We know. We definitely know. Ms. Vicki Dillard on the Hip Hop Uncensored podcast. Before we get up out of here, Ms. Dillard, please let the people know where they can find you, where they can follow you, VickiPlanet.com. The floor again is yours.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm pleased to say that I'm back doing content with FlyNewBeanQueenTV.com. I'm also on African Diaspora News Channel, so you can see commentary there for me weekly. Nice. Also on my channel, I put up some content at VickiDillard.tv, but the main place is VickiPlanet.com. I'm starting my spiritual school again at ClubVicki.com, a collaboration I'm doing with one of the networks. So we're just starting that come June 1st. So you can register for that at ClubVicki.com, VICKI, ClubVicki.com. Thank you all so very much for having me and allowing me to plug my work.
Anytime. The pleasure is always ours.
Absolutely.
Can't wait to have you on again. Ms. Vicki Dillard on the Hip Hop Uncensored podcast.
I'm going to hold you to that.
Very soon, definitely.
Please do.
Yep.
Salute. We thank you.
Thank you so much.
Right.
This was amazing. Bye-bye.
Thank you.